Tonight, they look special out in Vegas. Michigan running Auburn off the floor. They do it early, and they just kept it rolling all night long. And they'll take it into the championship game of the Player Era Festival tomorrow night in Sin City. Woo! I mean, how about it? Welcome into the Michigan Basketball Postgame Live Show. You got to be a little bit fired up if you are a Michigan fan, Michigan basketball. A lot of people, you say, well, March Madness, and we're still here in November. It's football season, but there are a host of tournaments going on, and the top teams in Michigan went west. And they have come out in these first two games, and they have been brilliant. They've made a statement. They win by 40 late last night against San Diego State, and then they come back, a team that they lost in the NCAA tournament last year to Auburn, and Bruce Pearl, who was on the call to the dismay of a lot of Michigan fans in the first half, but Michigan takes it to Auburn, and they win this one by 30, going away, and it was over quick, and it was then painful for the Tigers, who were looking up at Michigan the entire way, and this was what it was all about. If you were a Michigan fan and you saw these players coming in and you were moving around the pieces, you'd say, oh, yeah, well, you got this, and you got the size, and you got the shooters, and, how are they going to coalesce? How are they going to play together? And, what would be the dream of it, being able to see the team gel? Well, that was it. Tonight, this is exactly what you would hope for. This is what you're looking for. If you're a chemistry person, putting it all together, whatever you can do, bottle this one. There'll come a time, I would think, this year where Michigan might go into a rough patch, and maybe the coaches will break this film out, make them watch it, and say, look at what's going on here. Look at how you guys play. Look at the energy. Look at the connectivity of this club. Look at the way you were sharing the ball. Look at the way you were cheering everyone on. Look at how everyone was playing. Let's get that back, what you had in Vegas. Hopefully what happens in Vegas does not stay there. It travels back to Ann Arbor. That's how good Michigan played, and you should relish this one wherever you're at. If you're a player, coach, fan, the college basketball fan, keep it going. You get another game tomorrow. Here's an NCAA tournament. We'll see. It's like the NCAA tournament where you're playing, usually you get even a game off. I guess it'd be like a conference tournament where you're playing night after night after night. And, hey, it's early enough in the season, and these guys are young enough where they could probably play 7-8 days in a row. But, maybe that would be too much, but it is, I think they'll be all right. We don't know exactly who they're going to play right now. Could be Tennessee, who is in the number 2 slot, but Gonzaga is playing right now, and it could end up being Gonzaga if they win by enough points. Either way, you're going to have Michigan playing another top 25 team in the championship game, and let's go. Tennessee is a team that they're familiar with. They've seen them recently in the NCAA tournament. Gonzaga, I don't know if Michigan, I don't recall off the top of my head, Michigan ever playing Mark Few's team, playing the Zags. And Jalen Rose, I'll paraphrase it. Let's watch it. Jalen Rose. This was like a big Michigan party on TNT. First you had Pearl, and, he's like, we, and shaking the hands of the refs. And Michigan fans are like, come on, man, this is not going to be any fun. But then Michigan's taking a belt to them. And maybe they were all along going to bring, because Rose and Weber were in the house, maybe all along they were going to bring him on the broadcast. But with the way Michigan was playing, and then, then it was Jalen and Chris taking over, and it had a real maize and blue feel to it. After that, they were able to drowned out Pearl, but they were able to bring more of a Michigan flavor to the broadcast. If you're someone who's watching this for the first time, listening to it on the podcast, we are here with the Maize and Blue review after every Michigan basketball game. And so here we are tonight, of course, after this one. And you normally don't win games in the first half, but that's exactly what happened tonight out in Vegas. Michigan was 16-4. I was writing it down, 16-4, and they're up by 21. I'm scratching that one off, and they're up, and they just kept going and going and putting this one away. Complete domination for the game, but in the first half, out executed, out hustled, and Michigan. If we were sitting in Vegas watching this game, it's like, basketball fans will do. And people were saying, well, what's this with Michigan? What's about, they turned the ball over a lot last year. And, they turned the ball over a lot this year. 2 turnovers in the first half. Man, that was shot 58% from the floor, 41% from downtown, same starting lineup as they went with last night with Burnett and Cadeau in the back court. And then the pterodactyl front line of Mara, Morris Johnson Jr., and Yax Lindenborg, who, man, Yax didn't start the opener, and then he had a wrap on his hand. And then in game 2, it was understandable, or you'd say, where's this Yax that everybody's been talking about? The prize of the transfer portal, but Yax has really just stepped to the forefront and just taken over this team, where he looks like and he is playing like an absolute star. Yax had a dozen at the break as Michigan was up 59-31. Morris Johnson had 15. Trey McKinney, he was pouring them in after not really shooting well last night. His jumper looks too good. I know he's young and he's a true freshman, but that jumper he has is too pure. And you want him shooting it every time, but they were all shooting it good tonight. Man, you see it with Namari Burnett, who can dial it up from anywhere. Certainly the short corner. The wing, he loves to shoot it deep from the wing. He'll shoot it close. And you had everybody on display doing all the things that you would say, what do they have in their repertoire? Let's see it. Even Cheddar putting the ball on the floor, passing, and I say even Cheddar. The Cheddar, normally you'd think he just plays hard and jacks up threes, but he was putting the ball on the floor and he was pretty active for a couple sequences that wouldn't show up on the scoreboard. But if you watched it, you're like, wow, man, Cheddar is, looking a little different tonight, a little bounce in a step or whatever else. But you had Rose and 2 members of the Fab Five on the TNT crew there. So it was fabulous in the building. The championship game is tomorrow. It is on TNT. Could be Gonzaga. That's who I want to see. I'm a fan of Mark Few. Jalen said that along with Michigan, Gonzaga would have the best front line in the country. I'll take his word for that. So you'd have strength on strength. Let's see it. I'm ready for it. Whoever. But if it's Gonzaga, it is Gonzaga. Let's give the Maize and Blue review player of the game. And for the second consecutive day, I am going to go to Yax Lindenborg, who poured in 17. He tied for game-high honors with Roddy Gale, but 6 of 11 from the floor, 3 of 7 from downtown, 5 boards, 4 assists for Yax, who at one point in the first half, he threw one down, and then he was pulling up his shirt, to show everybody. I guess not pulling it up, maybe, showing the Michigan, popping his collar, kind of. I just showed some emotion. I liked it. Seeing that big smile on Yax's face. He looked good. Obviously, Michigan looked good. And that is it. Let's see if we get the rest of these numbers up here and go through them a little bit. When you have a game like this, yeah, everybody played well. Everybody looked good. Morez Johnson Jr., he had game-high honors at the half. He ends up with 15, 5, and 3. Also had a block. Here's Damari Burnett, had 15 points and 5 boards. And 1 of 2 from downtown, perfect from the free throw line. You get something like this from Damari, you're really cooking if you are Dusty. Mara, who the TNT guy said that was their player of the game yesterday, understandable. I went with Yax. They went with Mara. The big fella, 5 points, 8 boards, had a couple blocks, but he disrupts everything. I'm surprised, and I know I've noticed now watching the game that the announcers are surprised too when guys go in there and they're like, ooh, they're going to shoot in the lane, and you got the 7-7 reach of Mara coming out swinging his arms at you. That's tough. Now Cadeau just had 3 points and 1 board and 1 assist, which is a little bit surprising. They didn't need a whole lot of them. He got thrown around in the game yesterday. It was a physical game for him where he ended up on the floor. He was turning his ankles, even and literally turning his ankles, both of them on one play early in the game against the Aztecs yesterday. And then in this one, was it the first minute? Was it the first play or two? He was over there holding his face. I think he got popped in the nose. So maybe there was something where they're just like, everything was going well. They didn't need him out there. He did drain a long 3. That was his 3 points. And then he came back right back with a heat check as he was part of the pregame show where he was familiar with the Auburn player on the other side. And so they had that going on. But you also got to see what Michigan brings to the table if Cadeau gets into foul trouble or has to miss a little time, whatever. And that was, you had LJ Kaysen handle a lot of the point guard responsibility. You had Trey McKinney as a secondary ball handler, bringing it up, doing some things. And then you also had Yax, who, Yax can, for as big as Yax is, and sometimes because he has such long arms, he looks a little mechanical to me. There was a time or two tonight when he had the ball and he got out of the break where he was pushing it. And I thought, wow, Yax is pretty fast. And he was running the point at 6'9". He looked pretty good. I got to say that. McKinney, he was in double figures with 11 points, 3 of 6 from downtown. Here's Kaysen, who played 25 minutes, had 10 points, 4 boards, 2 assists. He can get to the bucket on anybody. Cheddar, give me 10 cheddars. I'll take them. 4 points. Winters Grady got into the act, had 3. And then Big Red, Oscar Goodman, had 2 points, but it was a two-handed fly in at the rim jam that got everybody out of their seats and on the Michigan bench falling over. I think that was everyone's favorite play of the game, with Goodman throwing it down. Charlie, I don't know if you have a human cigar or not, but the coach's kid getting in there, and everybody. There's Cordell with a couple boards, and there you go. Not bad for better than not bad. Great for Michigan tonight. That's what it was. It was a great performance by Michigan. Chad, remembering that Gonzaga and Michigan played in Atlantis a few years ago. I remember that tournament. Was it Michigan played North Carolina, I believe, in that tournament as well? They played really well in that tournament, so maybe they beat them. Good memory there, Chad. Matthew, like the win, go blue. And Jennifer, is saying it is going to be the Zag. So I'll take your word for it. Not bad. Michigan go blue. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, but he's changed it up, saying that when Yax is fully healthy, no one can guard him. I don't see anything wrong with what you're saying there. These last 2 games, he looks fully healthy, and nobody has been able to guard him. So I'm right with you on that. And he was the Maize and Blue Review player of the game. And there he is. Not his picture, this Roddy Gale, but there's his name. Yax. He's got a great name. He's got a great game. And might be time to break out the Lenda Borg again. Here it is. There it is. The Lendy Borg. It's not been used. Might be a good time to break this one out. The way he's playing right there. Go for it. No, I'd be drinking out of that, but it's ready at one point if needed. Let's get to that upcoming schedule and a couple other things. Michigan, via their win yesterday, Ken Palm adjusts his rankings every day. Michigan yesterday was 15. They jumped all the way up to number 6. Pretty close to where they're ranked, number 7. So now, Michigan zeroing in. Talk about them being one of the better teams in the country. They are the number 7 ranked team. You would think they would be moving up. And then Ken Palm has them going there as well. So there we are. And Matt pointing out the upcoming schedule that Michigan, if they play the Zags, they've got 2 games that they'll play in Big Ten. They also have Villanova on the slate. So, yeah, I like it. Why not? If you want to raise a banner up at the Chrysler Center, last year they were able to raise up a Big Ten tournament championship banner. You'd like to see a little bit bigger of a banner and one that says National Championship, first time in the Big Ten in what would it be, 25, 26 years. And, of course, you'd be able to put a Final Four banner up there as well. Here is the upcoming schedule. It is brought to you by the Maize and Blue Review. Give yourself or that U of M fan in your life, this is the perfect time, the gift of the Maize and Blue Review. Go to on3.com, hit that subscribe button, and you're off and running. Here you go. The Players Era Festival Championship game. Michigan is in. They will play 9:30 tomorrow on TNT. We'll be here after the game. We will have it all. It's a great time to be a sports fan in Michigan. That's it. There was, last week, a week and a half ago, that people were wanting to sell Michigan stock, and yet Lindenborg, and people and myself saying, is this the Yaks? I mean, he had the hand, and he'd go to the bench and he'd put on a heating pad. People think that maybe he had back spasms, whatever, but he is he's been playing special, and this is one where you just like to watch this team. It's a little bit of a shocker. Last year Michigan was pretty good. The year before they had the worst Big Ten, they had the worst record that they had in 50 years or something. The end of the Juwan Howard era, so that wasn't good, and that was coupled with the winter sports where the Red Wings were miserable. And then the Pistons, and right now Pistons got this great winning streak. Jalen had mentioned that. Look at the Pistons and Cade Cunningham. Look at Michigan basketball. I mean, if you're a fan of the winter sports, I mean, this thing is happening. And then football was never too far out of anyone's mind, as you heard the chants again tonight in Vegas of beat Ohio. And Jalen made sure that he brought it up. Michigan, a football school. And, what they'll do to Ohio State. He's talking about 5 in a row. So everybody's fired up, everybody feeling good, and they should feel good. This is a feel good game. This is a great game. This was a dominant game. This was a game that you're like, you can't wait for tomorrow. Well, it'll be here before you know it. We'll be here. We'll be talking about it over on the Maize and Blue Review tonight, tomorrow, all the way up to tip off. Then then Thanksgiving, and then you got Blue Friday, Black Friday, whatever you want to call it. Michigan, Ohio State, Saturday. Yes, it is it's an excellent time to be a Michigan fan. Let's do it. Matthew also mentioning that Michigan plays Duke later on the season. That's right. They certainly do. And you like to see when you have a really good team, you like to see other big time games. There are some people that I remember were poo-pooing the Michigan schedule early in the season. Why do they have to play Wake down at the Little Caesars Arena? That's not, it's like, all right, they played Wake in Greensboro last year. That's not that. But hey, you look for different people's opinions and what they have to say, and to be the just because I didn't really see the argument that they had. I mean, they didn't have a legitimate one. I was just on the other side of that one. All right, that is going to do it. Michigan advancing to the championship game of the Player Era Festival in Vegas. They beat Auburn 102-72. That's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. We will talk with you tomorrow. Tomorrow at 2:00 on this very feed that you're watching or listening to. And then after the game tomorrow, the championship game. We'll be cutting down nets, heading into one of the big nights of everybody going out, all that. I mean, hanging out, watching Michigan basketball. Not bad. So long, everybody.